Hey everybody, welcome to Peegs.com. Alongside Matt Weaver, I'm Jeff Rabjohns. We are here at Memorial Stadium, where on Saturday night, the Indiana football team, for the first time ever, will have a chance to walk off the field as an 11-win IU football team. Matt, just kind of your thoughts, just big picture on just what that means, the opportunity for fans to watch their team get to 11 wins.
Well, this is the first 10-win team in Indiana history, so this would be the first 11-win team in Indiana history. I mean, it's huge, and, obviously Saturday was disappointing, but, this season is still a rousing success. You've accomplished great things. This program is set up to be good for a really long time under Curt Cignetti and his staff. Purdue's not playing good, but this is, I've followed this rivalry for a really long time, and I've seen a lot of games where one team's terrible and one team's pretty good, and it's a heck of a game, and sometimes there's an upset. I don't foresee that on Saturday. I think this team, especially after the last couple of weeks, they played obviously their two poorest games. I think they'll be locked in and very hungry to get the bucket back.
Obviously, Curt Cignetti just got done talking. Anything in particular that he discussed kind of stand out to you as far as in the Monday conversation going into, final week, the Bucket Week?
No, kind of what I just touched on. That this will be a desperate team. They're a capable team. They do have some talent. Purdue's had an awful season. There's no way to sugarcoat it. But that their tight end Claire is really good. They've got some receivers who can make plays. And Hudson Card, when he gets going, can make plays. He's not had a great season. Defensively they struggle, but they've got some guys. Thienem in there, safety. Will Helt on the edge. Guys who can cause you some problems. I feel like if Indiana comes up and plays their A game, which I expect they will, I think they win this game, pretty handily. But Purdue's going to be fired up. This is their bowl game.
Right.
And they've not beaten anybody since week 1 of the season.
Right.
They've lost 10 in a row, and the only team they beat was an FCS team, Indiana State, who was not very good. So this is their bowl game. They've got. I would expect them to throw the kitchen sink at Indiana.
Right, and obviously for them, it's a rivalry game. They would love to hand Indiana its second loss, knock them out of the college football playoff.
Absolutely.
There's a lot for Purdue to play for, even though their record obviously is just quite poor. The offensive line for Indiana had some struggles against Ohio State. Cignetti talked about them not handling the noise well, and obviously you could see that with, they went to the silent count with Tap at the center. You could see Ohio State at some point really figured it out. Yeah. Timed blitzes, timed everything really well. Do you have concerns about the offensive line, or do you look at it and say, man, that was kind of a one-off, it's 105,000, it's in Ohio Stadium, it's going to be very different?
No, I don't have. I know it's been now 6 quarters in a row where they really haven't played great. But that's also coincided with the competition level has increased. It has ramped up quite a bit. Now, it was interesting. He said that he thought basically all of it was pretty much execution related. He said that he felt like they only got beat physically one time. But I do think the athleticism and kind of the explosiveness was a little bit of a shock to the Indiana players. Teams that have given them problems. Maryland gave them problems last year. Michigan State, all these other teams, they dominated those teams.
Right.
So they've stepped up. Obviously, the O-line has improved dramatically, but it's still another level up to a Michigan, Ohio State, a Penn State, who have those kind of athletes on the D-line. And it's tough. And obviously, maybe in a more sterile environment, maybe it's a little bit, they play a little bit better. It was pretty obvious. Ohio State was pretty much waiting for that guy to tap. The left guard, Bray Lynch, tap Mike Kadick, and as soon as they saw the tap, they were going. And there's not much you can do about that. If Kadick can't hear the quarterback, you've got to figure out a way for him to snap the ball. So
right.
It was kind of a perfect storm for them, going against the talent, going against in that environment, and then having to use kind of almost hand signals to snap the ball.
Yeah, and obviously you talked about talent level disparity. You look at mock drafts and things like that. Ohio State and Michigan both have guys projected, defensive line guys, projected to be, NFL guys here. And the next year, maybe the next 2. But certainly they're projected to be guys who we're watching play on Sundays in the future. Another thing today, we got Curt Cignetti's contract. The numbers for Curt Cignetti are, exactly what we'd reported earlier. 8 years, $72 million, plus an extra, million retention, which really makes it $9 million per year in total compensation if he stays. The other thing that in the contract jumped out to me was the assistant coaching pool. It went from $5.86 million, roughly $6 million, to $11 million. Puts it on par with like Ohio State and people like that. I thought that was a significant piece of that contract. I'm curious what you thought.
I was blown away, quite honestly. I would have, I think I think we were kind of hearing maybe into the close to $8 million range, possibly, and it blew past that.
Yeah.
And to me, $7.5, $8 million for your assistant salary pool would have been very competitive. This is elite. I mean, you're talking elite salary for your assistants. I would assume that includes all, like strength and everything, but still, that is a significant increment. It's basically almost double. I mean, you've almost doubled what you're, is that going to be enough to always keep an assistant? No, there may be a guy who just the head coaching job opens and that's what he wants to go do, or maybe there's a position coach and a coordinator job opens, and there's no upward movement at Indiana for him, and his dream is to do that. You can't. I don't know if you can put a price tag on that. Maybe to an extent, but the bottom line is this should. Even if you lose a guy, you're going to be able to replace him.
Right.
You're going to be able to go out and get somebody of what you would consider probably equal value, and bring him in. So it is. Kudos to Indiana, because that has always been not just the head coaching salary, but the money that they're able to pay the assistants. I mean, for the longest time, Indiana never had $1 million assistant. I think Brian Haynes is the first one.
Right.
Now you could have multiple.
Right.
I mean, you could have, and I'm talking 2, maybe even 3. I mean, you could see that maybe there's a third guy in there that they really want to pay. So, we'll see how that money gets allocated, but it's phenomenal, a phenomenal salary pool for Curt Cignetti to work with.
And I thought it sort of dovetails very well with what we've been hearing for several years as far as Scott Dolson wants to invest in football.
Yeah.
And obviously a change at the president's office was helpful in allowing some of those things to happen. Pam Whitten certainly very supportive of athletics overall, and certainly Pam Whitten is somebody who understands you need to be good at football. You need to properly invest in football. She wants this. I know that Scott Dolson had some concepts and plans going back several years, and now we're seeing Scott's plan be able to be implemented. And I think Scott Dolson deserves a ton of credit for the work he's put in behind the scenes. These things don't just happen by accident. You know that really well.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a school that's never, let's be honest, they've never taken football as seriously as it needed to be taken for a really long time, and they are. And, obviously the media rights deals help with a lot of things, but the bottom line is they've stepped up to the plate. And I said it last week, I came on a radio show, I said, Indiana's never really taken a lot of risk with football. They've always kind of played it safe. Maybe, people would say, well, to me, hiring Jerry DiNardo was playing it safe. While it worked out for a few years with Tom Allen, going from Kevin Wilson to Tom Allen was kind of playing it safe. And so to open up, and to me, when you give this kind of contract, now Curt Cignetti, to me, mitigates the risk a ton because of his track record of winning and what he's done. And are they going to start 10-0 every year? That's going to be tough.
Right.
But he to me has raised the floor of Indiana football from where the floor was probably, 2 wins.
Right.
I think the floor under Curt Cignetti is 7, 8, maybe 9 wins. And I think this team is consistently going to be in that. And then they're going to have the years where it comes together like this year, and you're playing for a chance to go to the playoff and play for a national title. So, but it took some courage, some guts for a school that's never done this before to give that kind of contract. At Indiana University, the football coach is making twice as much as the basketball coach.
Right.
That's right. Pretty remarkable.
It is. It really is. It really is. So I think those are the big picture things as far as it relates to Cignetti and the contract. So got the Bucket game coming up. Obviously, we're taping this on Monday afternoon. College football playoff bracket most recent reveal will come here in a few hours. I think 11-1 Indiana's in. I said it after the game. I think they're in. When you look at, they would end up, we're just going to assume they beat Purdue. They would end up 11-1. Their only loss would be on the road to the number 2 team in the country. They would have no losses to unranked teams. I think they're in, especially when you look at what Ward Manuel said, that they're looking at things like strength of record, looking at how did they play. Going to the Michigan game, IU led the country in margin of victory at almost 33 points per game. Your thoughts, 11-1 Indiana, are they in?
Yeah, I think so. I think the only way a win against Purdue could hurt you is if it's not an improvement. You know what I mean? Like you struggle and you have to kick a field goal at the end to beat Purdue.
Sure.
To me, something like that could hurt you. I don't think that's going to happen. I think this team's going to come out laser focused and ready to go. And I think I don't know. I'm not sure what the spread is. I would assume it's pretty big. But I think they win this game fairly handily. And look, to me, what gave me the confidence they'll be in is when the poll came out yesterday, and they were, I think, 10th. And the rankings have kind of matched up pretty similar, and they've even mentioned that a little bit. This rankings have kind of matched up with the poll. Maybe not exactly, but pretty close. So, and then you got some help. I mean, Ole Miss got beat. A couple other teams that were kind of could be potential jump you kind of teams. They lose. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, I think it's unless you get really lucky with Maryland losing. Or Maryland beating Penn State and Michigan beating Ohio State, and you go to the Big Ten championship and prove you're probably going to be traveling. But still, I've always said the biggest thing is get an invitation to the party and let's go dance.
Right, absolutely. So Indiana 10-1 hosting Purdue, night game on Saturday, 7:30 kickoff, bucket game under the lights here at Memorial Stadium. For Matt Weaver, I'm Jeff Rabjohns. We'll have a lot more coming this week on Peegs.com.